Hello and thanks for joining us on Encore. Coming up on today's show. A multi-million euro bouquet of flowers that's shaping up to be an unwelcome gift as the French art world slams a proposed installation from Jeff Koons. We check out the one-stop cultural centre in Lagos that's injecting new energy into Nigeria's performing arts scene.
Okay, Jay really easy-ish. I've been running this town. Stand up ninja when I speak, niggas sit down.
And from the slums of Nairobi to working with the United Nations to get young people into music, we meet East Africa's rising hip-hop star, Octopizzo. Now, tradition dictates that a bunch of flowers is always a welcome gift to your host, but not necessarily if that bouquet comes from Jeff Koons. The American artist pledged his installation, Bouquet of Tulips, to the city of Paris in 2016 as a memorial to the terror attacks that took place 1 year earlier. Yet now, some high-profile figures from the world of arts and culture here in France say they'd rather not accept this mammoth pop art sculpture. Owen Barnell tells us why.
A sight usually far from controversial. A bouquet of tulips. Yet this one, signed by the artist Jeff Koons, has been causing quite a stir. In 2016, the contemporary arts superstar announced with the American Embassy his intention to offer the city of Paris his work, Bouquet of Tulips, seen as a pledge of Franco-American friendship and proof of American support for France after the country was hit by several terrorist attacks. At the time it was previewed at the Paris City Hall, we asked the artist what were his intentions for the gift.
Show solidarity and to show an offering of remembrance to the victims of the terrible tragedies that have happened in France over the last 2 years. And at the same time to give hope to the surviving family members.
The work is truly monumental in size, weighing 35 tons, and will cost €3 million to be paid mainly by private patrons. It is to be permanently installed in the square between the Museum of Modern Art and the Palais de Tokyo, yet this gift has not been universally welcomed. In the newspaper Libération, a collective made up of personalities from the world of culture have said no to Jeff Koons' gift. Stéphane Carrière, art critic and curator, is one of the people to have signed this declaration.
En réalité, Jeff Koons, comme on l'a écrit, c'est aujourd'hui surtout...
In reality, Jeff Koons is the symbol of a new age of industrial art. His works are made in a factory.
L'œuvre est fabriquée dans une usine, comme ça vous a pas échappé. Jeff Koons n'a fait donc...
Koons is only in possession of a concept. It's striking, a real spectacle. But for us, it does not represent the form of art to which these institutions relate. It's the equivalent of putting a statue of Ronald McDonald outside of one of Paul Bocuse's restaurants. It makes no sense, as they're not part of the same world.
Ronald McDonald devant le restaurant de Paul Bocuse. Ça n'a aucun sens, ça n'est pas le même univers.
He is not the only one to have their reservations.
It's a shame about the location, above all for the view behind it. I think it would be better elsewhere.
It wouldn't be a bad idea if it was placed in front of the Bataclan.
On Tuesday, Koons met with France's Minister for Culture. The two of them discussed the planned location of the work, rather than if it should be placed there at all.
A Scottish schoolteacher has become an international literary sensation with more than 1 million sales in China and a Hollywood movie deal in the works. But Claire McFall remains relatively unknown in her native Scotland. This next report takes us to her hometown, the place which inspired her novels.
Scotland is known for many things. Its cities, bagpipes, but above all, its nature. Scotland's beautiful landscape has been a source of inspiration for many. From the time of Robert Louis Stevenson and Walter Scott to Ian Rankin, writers have long drawn on these lands to spark the imagination. Claire McFall's first book, The Ferryman, follows teenage girl Dylan, who after her train crashes, clambers out into a desolate wasteland based on these highlands.
Ferryman started off as a dream, and when that transferred into the novel, and Dylan was climbing out of the train, out of the tunnel, and she came out into the landscape. I turned it into something like this, which is South Lanarkshire, where I'm from, and for me it's an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous landscape, but it's also very rugged, it's quite dangerous, and the Scottish weather can change at any moment, so for me it was actually quite a threatening environment as well as being a really beautiful one.
The magic of the books began here, while McFaul worked as a schoolteacher in small-town Lanarkshire, yet her writing has brought her fame far away from her beloved Scotland. While her Ferryman series has seen modest success in the UK, it has made her an international celebrity in China. The book's journey through an afterlife steeped in myth have struck a chord with Chinese readers, and it has been a bestseller.
My agent calls it fairy mania, which is slightly cringeworthy, but they were getting really excited because they seemed to be astonished that I would want to come to China to see them. And I was like, are you kidding? You love my book, of course I'm going to want to come and see them. So we did lots of sort of selfies and things like that.
McFaul's success has inevitably invited comparisons with J.K. Rowling, the author whose mammoth Harry Potter series also began in Scotland and swiftly became an international phenomenon. Now, with the movie rights to her series signed to US blockbuster company Legendary Entertainment, McFaul's personal story has taken a magical turn of its own.
Well, how do you revive a theatre scene that's gone flat? If the Terra Kulture Arena in Lagos is anything to go by, you need lights, music and a lot of energy. The performance venue's open again after closing down for modernisation, and the woman behind the venture is determined to bring about a sea change in Nigeria's performing arts. Alex Jennings has this report.
Music, movement and drama return to Nigeria's Terra Kulture Arena. After months of renovation, the theatre has opened its doors once more. Inside, a sensory overload of sight and sound. Bursting onto what had been a virtually non-existent performing arts scene, this production is riding the wave of a rebirth of theatre in Nigeria. For the woman behind it all, it's about time.
I'd worked with the United Nations for years, came back home, and I felt that there was a gap, that we could do a lot more in the arts and culture space, especially working as an expatriate. You tend to go to a lot of art venues, so we didn't have a lot in Nigeria, so I decided to build this.
Taking to the stage, a production of Fela and the Calcutta Queens, a celebration of one of Nigeria's great musicians, Fela Kuti. Fela's hip-shaking Afro beats and his resistance to Nigeria's former military regime are played out. But it's his entourage of women who are the true stars of the show. Joining the performance are two of Fela's real wives. It's high-octane energy throughout, and a far cry from Nigeria's national theatre. Doors shut and lights out. Hardly any shows have been staged here. The Nigerian government nearly sold the venue last year. Hopeful that the Terra Kulture will not suffer the same fate are Nigeria's theatre lovers.
It costs probably a lot to do these kind of productions and all that, so let's pray for even a bigger space, much larger space, so that a lot of people can also come and watch.
Terra Kulture has changed the game of Nigerian theatre, combining modern technology with homegrown stories. It looks like Nigeria's performing arts scene could be set for a brighter future.
Next, we're taking a look at a rapper who certainly earned his credentials in the School of Hard Knocks. Octopizzo, as he's known, grew up in the Kibera slum in Nairobi, a sprawling settlement of some 200,000 people, where getting a daily meal is a significant struggle for many. He's now an award-winning musician and humanitarian who hasn't forgotten his roots. He wants to plough his success back into his community and inspire young people. Francois Wibo has the story.
Kibera, one of Africa's largest slums and the place where Henry Ohanga grew up. Orphaned by the age of 15, he ended up joining a gang before turning his life around. Today, he's known as Octopizzo. The Octo, a reference to the only bus line that dares venture into this neighborhood. And now, he wants to help young people realize that they too can make a name for themselves.
I want to be like that face of possibility, because when you grow here, you're told you will never be anything. You're told this by You were a teacher in school, you know, you're told this by your dad probably at home, and most of the time he start getting you, start hating you, and you realize, oh, I'll never be anything anyway.
During the 2007 post-election violence, his anger spilt into his first recorded song, Voices of Kibera. It wasn't long before his songs became hits and he was being featured on major advertising campaigns. Kibera, where most of his family and friends still live, remains close to his heart and features in every one of his hits.
I feel like if I wasn't born here, I probably won't be a rapper. You know, I would be something else. I probably won't have the same drive.
And in Kibera, his musical career is an inspiration. Octopizzo fan Daniel Owino used to roam the streets and steal. He now works as a motorbike taxi driver while pursuing his passion for hip-hop.
When I saw that boy now, he's living larger than life, you know. I felt like I will make it even me one day, because we were with Octopizzo just down here in the slum, you know.
Thanks to Octopizzo, Owino has already recorded 13 songs and is now dubbed Mr. Kibera. Meanwhile, his mentor is working hard on a new album.
And finally, Paris Fashion Week might have packed up for this season's shows, but a new photography exhibition in fashion is one way for fans to get a fix while the catwalks are quiet. From Dior and Chanel to Alaya and Louboutin, the big brands from the last half-century are all there, and you can check out those images at the Royal Monceau Hotel in Paris until the end of March. Do remember to check out our website, and you can also keep up with Encore on social media. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.